All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to lesson 5.1, officially starting chapter 5. We're going to be looking at ratios and rates. Now, for some of this thinking, students are able to get it really well at the beginning, and then when the numbers start getting just a little bit more complicated or you have to use them a little bit differently, that's when they tend to struggle. Or they forget to actually look for those keywords there. So look at ratio, rate, unit rate. Unit rate is very specific. So make sure you know what's going on. Your objectives: I will or I can find ratios, rates, and unit rates. Find ratios and rates involving ratios of fractions. So we're going to hold off on those fraction parts initially, and then we're going to come back to that on a different day. But that's not to say that we're going to skip fractions. It just means the more complicated problems we'll come back to a little bit later. All right, so a ratio comparing two items, two quantities using division. Now, in there, maybe you want to put a second color. No units are labeled. I personally like it when it's in the fraction form or when it has the little colons there. But 2 over 3 is actually very helpful when we get to some graphing skills as well. Using the word, that is acceptable, and that's actually seen quite a bit in the upper level math that you're going to see later on in high school. 2 to 3. Rate. Different units. Now that's key there. So they drove 51 miles in 3 hours. So you got your different units there. And then when we get to our unit rate, the unit rate is key because a unit rate has to have a denominator of 1. So if you notice on the rate, the denominator is a 3, and that's acceptable for a rate. But if it gives you the words unit rate, like find the unit rate of, and then it gives you the scenario, and you forget to have a denominator of 1, then it is incorrect. So that's the difference between rate and unit rate. Unit rate has to have a denominator of 1. Really key, important fact there. All right, there are 15 males and 20 females in class. Find the ratio of males to females. Now, one thing we could do that you're actually going to see on IXL is also talk about two. So it says find the ratio of males to the students. In other words, it would be using the total amount. So we'll talk about that as well. But right now, it's just 15 males to 20 females, right? So that's an initial ratio, but of course we would like to go ahead and try and reduce our fraction always. We can divide by 5. So we have 3 to 4. It can be written as a fraction. It can be written as the word TO, and it can also be used with the colon. All right, let me see if I can throw it in there with my pen tablet. This is for some thinking that would be help on IXL. Maybe it would say find, so this is a different problem, the ratio of females to students. And by saying students, that means all the students in the class. So that would be the females is the numerator, so that is 20. Our denominator would be the students, and the denominator for total number of students is 15 males, 20 females, so that's 35. And then, of course, we could divide by 5 again. So this new ratio for a different scenario would be 4 over 7, or 4 to 7. So that's one small difference when it doesn't say just males to females, but females to students. All right. There are 12 dogs and 15 cats at the pet store. Find the ratio of cats to dogs. And notice this time, it did not give you dogs first when it's talking about the ratio. Even though dogs are written first in the sentence, does not mean that we write it first for our fraction. So we have cats as the numerator, dogs as the denominator. we do reduce it. Remember, you could always pause the video and catch up. So our ratio is 5 to 4. It can be written as fraction, the word to, or with the colon. And again, if we wanted to, maybe we would say dogs to pets or animals. So second problem. Find the ratio of dogs to animals. And it's just the animals listed, of course, right? So dogs would go first. Animals would be 12 and 25, which is 27. I think they can still divide by 3, which would be 4 to 9. And that really means, again, 4 dogs out of the 9 animals. So if there was like a group of animals, that would see 4 dogs. So obviously we would see 5 cats, which is the same thing up here from our initial ratio. So several different ways we can write it based off of our statement. Oh my goodness, look at it. I must be psychic because I already did this one. Wow, that's silly me. So repeat. That is silly. 4 to 7. All right, now that we've talked about ratios, we're going to go ahead and talk about rates and unit rates. I'm recording in the garage, and the sun is like right here beating down on me. It's supposed to be almost December, not August. All right, you bicycle 30 blocks in 20 minutes. Find your speed. So we're going to set it up again as following. Hey, it would like the unit rate. So your speed, not just the speed in general, is unit rate, your speed. So we're going to go 30 blocks in 20 minutes. So I can ride, let's reduce it. Ooh, so not just dividing by 10, right? Because it wants the unit rate. 1.5 blocks, because 30 divided by 20 is 15, or really 1.5, right? Because the decimal, per 1 minute. It's kind of like the miles per hour when your parents are driving. But this is like riding your bicycle, if you still ride a bicycle. Per minute, it really kind of like there's a 1 hidden there, because again, 1 minute, per hour, per day, things like that. That means it's a 1. All right, find the unit rate again. So this is maybe a work-related scenario. Someone earns $180 in 12 hours of work. Find the unit rate. That's a lot of hours of work. Let's see. 180 divided by 12, because again, we want our denominator to be 1, and that's talking about per hour. How much money do they make per hour? So we got to divide by 12 because we want the unit rate. That would give us a denominator of 1. 180 divided by 12, 15. Hey, and that's actually the minimum wage right now, I read, in California. $15 per 1 hour. When I was a teenager, a little bit older than you, I made $4.25 an hour. Woo! When I worked at Little Caesars, it was amazing. Sometimes I did get free pizza, though. Unit rate again. Do you notice how we keep stressing the unit rate? And that's because that's the section that students struggle the most. They forget that it has to be divided by, or you have to divide it to get a denominator of 1. $10 for 8 cans of soup. So again, we got to divide by, well, to get a denominator of 1, I got to divide by 8. Because 8 divided by 8 is 1 can. So on your calculator, go ahead and do 10 divided by 8. So it's $1 something. $1.25 per 1 can of soup. Move that to the side. Per can. And again, when we write it as per can, it's understood that it's 1 can. That's why our denominator was 1. Ooh, okay, yes, yes, this is a good question. This is a comparison. This is an analysis question. Really, it means two problems instead of one problem. So sometimes if you go to the grocery store and you look at your tags on there, it'll give you your price, but also in the corner, it'll give you the price per ounce or sometimes the price per like one of the units there. And again, that's our unit rate. So scenario or 12-ounce bag. So I'm going to take the $4.50 and divide it by 12 ounces, which really means divide by 12, and that'll give me the cost per ounce. Really trying to find out what's the better deal. Now, some people will say, I just want a 16-ounce bag of chips. I want more chips. But we're trying to figure out price per ounce. Again, calculator work there. 38 cents per 1 ounce. And again, $0.38 means 38 cents per 1 ounce. All right, second bag, $6.56 divided by 16, because again, it's a different size bag. Really means we're going to divide both by 16. Gives me the 1 ounce for my denominator, and it gives me 41 cents per 1 ounce. So based off this scenario, again, we're really just trying to compare, do a cost analysis. The first bag of chips, the 12-ounce, is a better deal because it costs less per ounce. But again, it's really just remembering to get a unit rate of 1. That's the key there. Hey, it looks like we're done. We're also going to have a small book assignment and a little bit of IXL today. And then the next class, you're going to have a lot of IXL practice because we got to really get down these ratios, rates, and unit rates to be successful. All right, be awesome.